Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, also Dr. Bill Cassidy. Welcome back, Senator. Good to have you.
Hewitt, good to be with you, my friend.
Well, tell me a little bit. I know you don't give medical opinions based on what you see on TV, but your senatorial opinions got to be informed by your medical background. Does the president's condition alarm you, as evidenced in that press conference yesterday?
You know, I didn't see the press conference yesterday, so let's just kind of take the whole thing. I'll speak as a doctor. And I don't have to speak about the president. I can just speak just the way it works. We all live to be somewhere around 80 plus or minus 10 years. And then our cognition begins to decline. Cognition means doctor talk for how you think, how you talk, whatever. And so if you graph it, it begins to go down like the slope of a mountain. And you can see, okay, here we are, and somebody's pretty at the top of their game. And then you just notice a decline. The family may be the first to notice, but then that decline picks up. And over the next 10 years, you can see that decline. So if the president is not as good as today as he was when he was vice president, that tells us that he may have begun that decline. And when that happens, you can expect over the next, period of time, because it's already 4 years into the decade, there would be further decline. And I'm just speaking to you as a doctor. I don't know anything about the president's medical history except what I see on TV, but I think people can see he's not the same man he was 8 years ago.
Well, you have been an elected official since you were in the House and you're in your second term in the Senate. In fact, the president swore you in, I assume, as Senator Cassidy. And he was given the questions in advance yesterday. As an elected official, have you ever been given the questions in advance by, we're going to talk about Julie Su, and I know that, but you don't know what I'm going to ask. I want to know, do you get questions from reporters written out and handed to you before they ask them?
No. Period. End of story. I mean, sometimes they don't even tell me what the interview's about.
Yeah, well, I didn't tell you we're going to talk about Joe Biden this morning. I did say we're going to talk about Julie Su because I'm just astonished she's been nominated to the Department of Labor. And we'll go there after one more question. If in the course of the campaign we don't see much of President Biden, what will your conclusion be? Like, I don't think yesterday was a press conference. It was a call and response scripted infomercial for the president. What do you think he's going to do in the year ahead?
Well, we saw what happened in his last campaign, where he kind of campaigned from, what did they say, from the basement in his home in Delaware. You can imagine more of that. By the way, Trump's doing the same thing. Trump, I understand, is now not going to participate in any debates. And so it may just be that they don't want to be exposed for whatever people might perceive as their weaknesses. It's a lot easier. When you feel comfortable, when you feel secure, when you feel bold, you're going to go out there and you're going to take your chances. I feel very comfortable. We've had interviews and you've come at me from the other, wow, where'd that come from?
Yep.
That's okay. That's the rules of the game. But if you're not so secure, if you're not so comfortable, you're going to kind of put yourself in a position where you can shield yourself from that sort of thing.
And there's a reason why you don't see a lot of elderly anchors on television or elderly reporters on television, and why people fade away to friendly friends at a party, but they're not leading the news because they've lost that edge. Now, Senator, let's go to Julie Su. I want people to know about this because I lived in California for a long time. We had a lot of incompetent people in California, a lot of incompetent people in government. I served in various positions for 17 years out in the Golden State, and there are a lot of incompetent. I don't think we've ever had anyone lose as much money as Julie Su lost, and yet the president has nominated her to be the Secretary of Labor. What do you think about this?
$30 billion. So to put this in perspective, there was unemployment programs put out during the response to the COVID epidemic. In fairness, you're trying to figure out something on the fly because things got shut down pretty quickly. But there was guidance put out that Ms. Su chose not to implement. And this is according to the California Inspector General. This is not some partisan sort of, oh my gosh, we don't like her. This is the California Office of Inspector General saying that she delayed implementing procedures that could have saved money. Now, it's $30 billion that were lost. There's a guy, Nuke Fizzle. He's a rapper. He put out a rap song about how easy it was to rip off money. He goes, last night I was selling peas, and today I got 300 G's.
Yeah, Senator, people, it is possible to screw up during an emergency, but $30 billion at red ink and lost taxpayer money under her supervision. How does she get promoted? Have you sat down with her and asked her about this yet?
She's a very nice woman. Let me say that, with a very compelling personal story. Her parents come in here as immigrants from Korea, working hard, succeeding. She goes to Stanford and maybe Harvard, I forget which, but very prestigious schools. So a great personal story. But her views are pretty much to the left, and that's been their views since the early '80s. And she has been very. So when you meet her, you can't help but be struck. She's an incredibly nice person. She's very intelligent. But when you look at that record, you're starting to think, wow, my gosh, she's pretty far to the left. And whoa, $30 billion is a lot of money to lose. And by the way, what say Senator Sanders, Bernie Sanders is my chair. He goes, well, other states lost money too. And of course, we would say, well, then their secretaries of labor shouldn't be U.S. Secretary of Labor either. I mean, whataboutism doesn't work here.
We've had some tough nominations. Andy Puzder should have been the Secretary of Labor. Andy Puzder would have been a great Secretary of Labor because he understood it. He didn't make it through. It was a smear campaign, took out Andy Puzder. And we go back to people who shouldn't have been confirmed before your time, like John Tower, who had a problem, and they recognized that, and we got Dick Cheney instead. There are times when nominees have to be turned down on simple competence grounds. I think this is one of them. Do any Democrats agree with you?
I don't know that yet. There's 3 or 4 who are considering. Now, labor unions are putting a big push on it, a big push. There's a lot of policies that they're pursuing that would be to the advantage of labor unions. I don't think for workers, but for labor unions. They want the dues. We need the dues, to quote Animal House. So we'll see. There's 3 or 4 who are considering it. They're in states which are, they either very red states or they may be up for re-election. So we have to see what they do.
Now, your friend and colleague from West Virginia, Senator Manchin, said he would vote against the Inflation Reduction Act. I just want to be clear. That's a nonsense position because it's never going to come up for repeal, is it?
No. I mean, the House has got provisions of it, I believe, in the debt ceiling deal, but Schumer won't bring that up. Schumer would be afraid that it might pass the Senate. So I don't think that, although Joe feels betrayed, I don't think he's going to have an opportunity to vote to repeal.
So on that speaker last night, the Speaker McCarthy got the bill through the House. Does that mean the debt limit is in the Democrats' court? President Biden, Chuck Schumer, we have done our job, meaning Republicans have done our job. Is that how you view it, Senator Cassidy?
I view it that way. My gosh, the president kept saying, show me your plan. Now he's not saying, show me your plan. He's saying, just give me a clean deal. Now, by the way, this is while Biden continues to push out more debt. One example, Hugh, every month that he has a pause on student loan repayment,
yep,
which benefits some families earning $250,000 a year, no problem paying back their debt, adds another $5 billion to our indebtedness. He's making the problem actively worse, but he says, just send me a clean debt ceiling. I think he's actually more interested in running for re-election than he is in showing leadership, and that's a bad place for a president to be.
Well, what happens if he doesn't move off the mark? Where if he just stays and says no, 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 and we get close to the brink of a default? What happens?
It depends on how the media plays it. If the American people end up thinking, oh my gosh, the president should come to the table, I think he'll come to the table. If the American people are kind of persuaded by the president, no, I should be able to spend as much money as I want without any regard to our future indebtedness, et cetera, then I think that it's going to put a lot of pressure on the House. We've seen this before.
But we've always done a deal. I mean, the debt limits in the past. Nancy Pelosi insisted that Donald Trump do a deal, and they did. They did a deal. This time is a first ever where the president won't even talk to the Republicans, and we control the House.
I think this is a page out of the playbook of Obama, and Obama played it very well. Of course, the press loved Obama. And they truly played it like, he was he was asked to do something unreasonable. Now, I don't know if the press likes Biden as much as they like Obama, in part because Obama was on the top of his game and Biden clearly isn't. So we'll see.
Senator Cassidy, good luck on persuading your Democratic colleagues not to forward the nomination of Julie Su.